Welcome back to the Punny Math Teacher. We are halfway through this unit. This is our 5th out of 10 videos, so we're on our way. Remember, you can watch any of the past videos, rewatch them, change playback speed. Once you've watched one and taken notes, you don't have to stop there. You can always rewatch it later. Totally fine. That's why they're recorded. So we already did horizontal and vertical lines. We are now doing standard form. So we've spent 2 lessons on slope-intercept form. We are now working on standard form. There are 3 forms in total, and then we will wait. I'll prep this, go down. Are we recording? Okay, so we did slope-intercept form. We're now on standard form, which is page 30, and then in 2 lessons we will see point-slope form, and then we'll convert between all 3 of them. So FYI, we're on page 30. Let's go. I knew I did something. I forgot to set out the marker that I wanted to use. We'll do orange here on top. Okay. So standard form looks like ax plus by equals c. Notice again the x and the y will be staying put. The only values that we are replacing are a, b, and c. And the other characteristics are there are no fractions allowed, which means we have to undo all the fractions and make them whole numbers. And then a is always positive. So in standard form, those are our 2 requirements. We'll see them again later when we convert to all 3 forms. But for now, when you're given something in standard form, how would you graph it? And that's what we are going to work on today, is graphing standard form in 2 different methods. So we are going to have method 1, and we're going to have method 2. Okay, overall, this one is to convert to slope-intercept form. So if you are an ace at slope-intercept form, this is an awesome one to practice and make sure you're good at, because you already are building on your previous knowledge. But this way is also quicker. Standard form is built to do method 2 a lot quicker. So we can find and graph the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Okay, so we're going to do method 1 first, and then we'll do method 2, and then you get to think about which one you like better. Okay, so I'm going to write down the steps, and then we will graph with an example on the bottom. The examples will be the same. They're both funky examples because I didn't want to do nice numbers. I wanted to do ugly ones so you could at least see how it worked with ugly ones, okay? So, first step, if you're starting off with ax plus by equals c, my goal is to convert it to y equals mx plus b. So, yes, there is no m. Yes, the b's are totally different, so do not think this lowercase b y-intercept is the same as that uppercase b. Totally different things. It's just the layout. So I need to first get my y by itself. So I need to move the ax term to the right-hand side, or undo it. So to move the ax, I'm going to subtract the ax on both sides, okay? The goal is to get y to be isolated. Now that ax is on the right-hand side, I now need to divide or undo that multiplication. So I need to divide by b, we should make this a capital A, on both sides. So both of these steps are just to isolate the y, okay? Once we have the y isolated, then we can graph the y-intercept and use slope to find the second point, okay? So we are going to practice this now. So if I have 5x minus 7y equals 12, I told you, they're horrible numbers. So I have an ax plus by equals c. Notice there are no fractions in this form, and 5 is positive. So I'm going to subtract the 5x on both sides. So I'm going to get negative 7y equals negative 5x plus 12. Notice I'm putting the negative 5x in front because that's where mx plus b is typically a slope an x, and then your constant at the end for your y-intercept. I need to undo this multiplication, so I'm going to divide by -7 on both sides, so everything gets that -7, and that's where we're putting fractions back in. But slope as a fraction is awesome. We like slope as a fraction. And this means I'm actually going to be graphing y equals positive 5/7 x minus 12/7. So 12/7 is approximately, it's almost -2, but it's not quite. And we're just gonna guess. Okay, so it's not quite -2 because that'd be -14/7. So I have my y-intercept. From here, I'm going to graph use my slope to find my second point. Slope tells me to rise 5 and run to the right 7. So I'm gonna make a bunch of tick marks. I know it's 7 for running. That one's nice. But for the 5, it's gonna get funky because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then running 7 is there. So it is funky because it is weird fractions, but I wanted to do an ugly graph first as your notes example, so you have examples on how to do weird ones where numbers don't simplify. If this was 14/7, it would have been so much nicer, but you already know how to graph nice graphs, so I wanted to do a funky one for you. And now let's go. So I guess before we move on, rate yourself from 0 to 10. How simple was this? Okay, now think about that as we go to method 2. So method 2, the first step is to find the x-intercept. You could find the y-intercept first. It doesn't really matter. I just did x first because, woo! Okay, so we are going to substitute 0 in for y, and we're going to get x by itself, as in we're solving for x. So your coordinate will be sum x comma 0. This is the exact same step in finding the y-intercept. So we are going to substitute 0 in for x. We're going to get y by itself, or isolate it, or solve for it, so that we get 0 comma y. So noticing that this is an x-intercept, y-intercept, x comma 0, 0 comma y. Think about that form. And then you plot 2 points. Plot both points and connect. Okay, and for some reason my marker actually started working better. So strange. So we are going to have 5x minus 7y equals 12. So it's the same exact graph as before. We should get it to match here, but they'll be a little off because we're plotting different points. And we'll actually see how accurate our scale is over here, if you drew it really well or not. Okay, so on here, my first goal is to find my x-intercept. My x-intercept is some number when y is 0. So I'm, in essence, taking 5x minus 7 multiplying by 0 equals 12. Then that disappears. I get 5x equals 12. Divide by 5, x equals 12/5. Pause the video. Does this process make sense? Okay, now that you've stared at this long enough, you know how to solve. This made sense. I did skip showing some of the work, but this makes sense. Think about it this way. 7 times 0, or anything times 0, is 0. It's gone. So just put your finger over it. In your head, can you do 12 divided by 5? Does that simplify any farther? No. So I know it's 12 divided by 5. Boom. Let's try this shortcut on our y-intercept. And if this doesn't make sense, and if this is just jumping too far for your brain, you'd rather just solve it by hand, solve the y-intercept by hand like this, where you have a y here, but a 0 for x over here, and then check your answer in a couple seconds, okay? So, x is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, put your finger over it. Now in your head, can you undo that multiplication? 12 divided by -7. That's as simplified as it gets, so it's going to be -12/7. So I'm going to graph. Okay. So I know my points are going to be at -12/7, so that's almost -2, but not quite, same as before. But my y-intercept, my x-intercept, is going to be 12/5, which is 5 goes into 10, that's 2 times, so it's 2 2/5. So it's 2 and a little bit more. And now if I connect them, do these lines look the same? Yeah, and if we look at its x-intercept, it's a little bit over 2, which is 2 2/5. So you can use 2 different methods to graph the same line with slope or with standard form. So rate this method 2 from 0 to 10 in ease. Was it really easy? Was it a 10? It was so easy. Or was it a 0? It was difficult? Or however you rated yourself on the first method. Compare them. Which one did you think was simpler? Which one would you prefer to learn and make sure that you got this down? Most questions for standard form will ask you for x and y intercepts, but you can always find those, but then still graph it with method 1. It's not an issue. You can find both of these intercepts with the same exact process in method 1. It's just built so that you can hold your finger over one of them and then do the rest in your head. All right? So this should be good on standard form. Practice makes perfect. Standard form is weird, and I know, but plugging in all those zeros, it helps you so much. And then, which method do you prefer? You've already thought about it, so which one do you actually have that you prefer better? And then create a song or rap to remember the format of those points. What does an x-intercept format always look like? What's a y-intercept format always look like? And then share with a neighbor. Like a band. Why not? It's fun. So thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.